looking at going to Mexico because there's a couple other tournaments there, and hopefully play in a few bigger events in America
Awesome.
before I come home for a couple weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, damn. It's such a grind, just like judging by the sound of it on the tour. How do you go about picking your events? Is there an event that you work towards being at and then adjust travel plans around it?
Well, over the years, you kind of get to know where you like, what surfaces you play better, what court speeds. Also, where your friends are going. For me now, as I've got older, I try and make it as enjoyable as possible. So you talk to a lot of the players where you can get your best partners, because I just play doubles now. So I've in the recent years, I've played quite well in this Marseille event. So that's the reason I go there, because usually I try and stay away from Europe just because of the language barrier. I much prefer the States or England, but there's not as many tournaments in England. But I try and base myself more out of the States if I get the choice.
Yeah, and how do you go about picking a doubles partner?
You obviously ask the
Loaded
best players you
question.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ask the best players you can, but like I said recently, I've learnt, like, if I get along with them well off the court, I'll most likely play better on the court with them, and I try and play as many tournaments as I can with good guys who I know that will put in 100%, and I'll enjoy myself on and off the court with, because I think that's the main thing when you're traveling 40, 50 weeks a year. It gets tough and a bit lonely, and even if you're doing well, sometimes you can get a bit down if you're just by yourself all the time, whereas if you're playing with guys you get along with, you can also enjoy it. Maybe not win as many matches, but you can definitely enjoy the camaraderie together, and that's why I try and tend to play with, if I can, the Aussies and the Brits.
Yeah, and I guess probably the language barrier as well comes into that as well. Like, someone from China is probably a lot harder to pair up well or have good chemistry or understanding of each other if there is a strong language barrier.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the language thing is a huge thing, because also when you're a team, like, if the ball's going to go out and it's close, if you yell out, like, leave it. I mean, if they say it in French, I've got no clue. You just go off what you're used to.
Yeah.
Or like, for example, Chinese, you just got no clue. So that's why English is the main. It's easier for me if they don't speak, and like, if I play with like you said, a Chinese, it's going to make things a bit tougher.
Have you learnt another language at all? Like, just by being on tour? Yeah.
At high school, I took Spanish, but I didn't actually do it. One of my roommates did it. And
love that.
No, I'm horrendous with languages. Compared to some of the other guys, a couple of them speak a couple. Nah, when I'm in countries that don't speak English, it's just the pointing.
That bred there.
Universal language.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone understands.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone should speak English.
Yeah, they're idiots if they can't. What high school did you go to? Because you went to Nick Bollettieri's academy at 15?
Well, yeah, actually, I'm from Sydney, and I went to actually the King's School for 3 or 4 years, and still got some great mates from there. Loved it. Like, I always say, it was some of the best years of my life. Just looking back on it, it was just being a sportsman, going to those schools. It was quite enjoyable. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, they were one of the schools that just encouraged me to keep going after it. They would help me out with my tennis. They let me miss a bit of school, which everyone found quite. They found a lot of people find it quite surprising, because King's obviously quite a strict school, but they were unbelievable with me, and I can never complain about that.
And then, so after a couple of years, you relocated to Florida?
Yeah, so when I got to year 10, 11, and 12, halfway through year 10, it got to the point where I was away 6 or 7 months a year. So they tried to help me out as much as I could, but it just got to the point where I'd missed so much that I could only do so much away by myself, and then I ended up going to a school in Bradenton, just a regular high school, which was a bit of a different experience. A couple of years there, and finished my year 12 there.
Wow. What's the whole academy? what's the situation there? What are you expecting from the academy? What's expected of you? Because I was watching King Richard, amazing movie, if you haven't seen it, about Serena and Venus's dad, and they talked about, like, well, obviously they displayed the whole time at the academy, and you can see what they get offered and get in return.
Um, yeah, well, you go there. Like, I went there to play like a junior. It's called the Orange Bowl Eddie Herr tournaments, and one of the coaches there, Paul, his name was Paul, and took a liking to me, and he actually brought me back on a scholarship, and I just go for a couple of months here and there. But when you get there, like, it's hard to explain, but you just go and you just don't know anything else but tennis, and you think it's normal to be playing 5-6 hours a day and
There you go.
practicing. And I didn't think I was missing anything when I was going there. And we was on court, and you love it, you do. And when I've got older, I don't really love it as much as I did, but I would go hours and hours, and you don't really have any distractions. In my opinion, like everything was revolved about being a tennis player, and then when I came home, it was just it was a bit different. Like, it's a bit more of reality and stuff. But there you've got soccer players that want to be soccer players, basketballers, golfers that are all like, everyone has a goal of being the best
Excellent.
they can, and I just thought that was the thing, and the biggest thing about going there. And I created some great friendships there, and half of my roommates ended up going on to be, well, not half of them, but a lot of them ended up going on to be very good, successful tennis players. And now you see them on tour, and it's a bit weird because you've known each other since you're 14, 15, and
Wow.
playing against each other like for nothing, and now there's guys up there who are killing it.
That must be an insane feeling. But just having that situation or environment where excellence is just sort of the only option amongst everyone, but also you've got no distractions of civilization or other people talking about their jobs or what party, and like nothing that normalizes you to civilization. I feel like that was one of the things that we spoke about.
In reference to, going to an academy like that where it's so specialized. Yeah.
Or even just like excellence, like in whatever field, you've got to be able to surround yourself with other people, because spending too much time in society will just make you like society.
Yeah, exactly. Like the biggest decision was if you're going to go pro or college. That when you finishing it, and that was it's whether you got going a full ride to American college, or you decide if you want to go pro, and that was pretty much the only thing people spoke about.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I come home now and I see the younger generations, and you try and help out as much as you can, and it's just different goals. I think a lot of people have different goals. But it was pretty incredible. Like, it's like an AIS for the world, But some people, they went in there and they just had a lot of money, and they kind of just went through the system and played a bit of tennis for a bit of fun. But there were most of them wanted to do, or like in all the sports, wanted to be pretty good. And it's funny seeing a lot of them now, like being pretty successful at whatever sport they did.
Is it surprising to you, or like, would it be more surprising to you if someone who sort of like just had a normal life, but also played tennis or played soccer or whatever their whole life, but amongst other people? Or does it make more sense that someone in that academy, in that environment, is successful?
I think it's each their own, everyone's different. So everyone's got ways of, some guys like from like Argentina and like Serbia, they weren't out academies. They didn't have money. They needed food on the table. So a couple of them, there's guys out there that are just ruthless, and everyone had their own way of coming through. But then you got guys that are very well off, and they probably did things a different way. It's crazy. Like, there's no set way of making it in tennis, and I think in all sports. Like, I think everyone's a bit different, and everyone, like, the way that worked for me probably won't work for other people, because they'll get sick of it after a while. And for sure that happens all the time, and especially with the young kids.
Is that the 5-6 hours a day you're referring to? Yeah.
Like, I definitely think when I got older, from doing that all the time, I got to the point now where, like, I'm going to say I don't enjoy the training as much. I enjoy the actual physical training, like if I'm doing it with someone else. Say if I've got like one of the younger boys, like Alex Demonor, for example, we did a lot of pre-seasons, but then when I go by myself, I'm horrendous at pushing myself because back then there was no one like I don't know. I just changed my mentality on it, like not by choice. I just kind of got to the point where I stopped probably enjoying it, the hours and hours and hours of training. Anyway.
Yeah, completely understandable. How do the guys at the top do it? I mean, success is a pretty good like motivator when like you're winning big tournaments, but what keeps like Roger Federer hungry? Like he's just done a knee surgery or whatever. Like, do you have a theory on why they keep coming back?
Yeah, they're all freaks. They're all like, they're seriously, they're all wired differently, completely differently. Like I was lucky enough that I did a couple pre-seasons with Leighton Hewitt.
Wow.
And I remember when he was done, I said to him, like the year he was done, what do you miss the most about? Surely you love this, like you don't have to do it anymore. And he actually said, nah, I actually miss that feeling of really punishing myself. I was like, oh my God, like that's, you know, like, and I think a lot of the guys are actually like that. You know, they love the feeling of really hurting themselves and then going day after day. And I think that's where they're a bit different. Whereas myself, like I'll do it for 3 or 4 weeks. But then when I get on the road, it's like a big rest thing. You know, like, oh, I've got to rest from that 4 weeks. But those guys, they're just day in, day out. They know nothing else but just really work and work.
Wow. How do you see Dominguez's career unfolding? Because is he 21 or 22? I don't know, very young.
Yeah, he's young. He's very, very mature for his age. Like, it's tough. The era we're in right now, it's quite tough. But I think now it's starting to open up a little bit with, like you said, Roger having some knee problems. He's getting a bit on. Obviously, Novak and Rafa are still going to be around for at least a year or two. But I think if he keeps doing the right stuff like he's doing, like his mentality and work ethic is incredible. And he's the nicest guy you've ever met.
Awesome.
I can't see how he's not going to be in the top 10. I'm not going to put the knocker on him, but he will.
He'd be close now. Is he like 20 or 30 now? He's not that far out.
He got to he got to like 14 or 15, and then he had an average end of the year because he got COVID and just struggled to get his legs back because a lot of his game is based around his legs, but he got hit hard by COVID. And I think he's down at like 28 now or 27, something like that. Terrible. But he'll be back there pretty quick. He's got an incredible game.
Yeah. I can't wait to see him crush it. Because you coached Kyrgios, am I right about that? You coached Kyrgios for a couple of years, so you've spent quite a bit of time around Australian talent.
Yeah. Everyone says coach. I called it glorified babysitting because I didn't actually tell him anything to do with tennis. I never did, and I just
was he expecting you to
as a person. He's a nah. Like at first it was more like it was just an agreement, literally agreement where we're like, can you travel with me? It started off with 2 weeks. He's like, can you travel with me for 2 weeks and I'll play doubles with you? And I was like, oh sweet, like because I've known him since he was about 13, and I always claimed that I was his breakthrough win when he won his first challenge, like professional tournament, was against me in the final. And we got along really well, and we ended up playing, and we got along really well, and he had some good results. And then I guess his management came up to me and asked if I could do it for a full-time thing. And so technically he said I was his coach, and we always joke about it now. But I think with him, it's more about coaching his mind and like just making him enjoy the grind and the travel, because it's a really tough thing to do. But I've been around a couple of the more talented Aussie boys, and no one's as talented as Nick, in my opinion.
How is it possible to coach the mind and utilize the talent to the fullest potential?
Oh, when I said, I wouldn't say I coached his mind. Yeah. I just tried to make him enjoy it. We were just like mates, you know. Yeah. I was lucky that he was saying I was his coach, but I was just like his mate and just trying to day in, day out, let's do this, let's do that. We had so much fun. It's one of, like I said it the other day to someone. I'm like, it's one of the most amazing 2 years of my life. Like I saw and met most people that I'd never meet before, but then also it's also one of the most stressful times of my life because there was so much going on all the time, and he was, he'd have his ups and downs, and going through the highs were incredible, but then the lows, there's a lot of tough times which a lot of people don't see, and that's where it's, and that's where it's pretty tough on an Aussie, especially an Aussie tennis player, being away from home so much compared to the rest of the world.
How was it on you?
Oh, it got to a point where it was quite tough. I had to, at one stage I really struggled a bit, and I never told anyone. Like I just kind of I went away for a bit, and I actually got some like a virus from being so stressed.
Wow.
But it wasn't him. It was more myself putting it on myself, because I wanted the best out of him, and then I was I just tried to probably went too much on the focusing on him rather than just trying to enjoy myself as well. And we had a great relationship though. Like we still do. Like when he did his isolation at my house when he just before the Aussie, and he was practicing on on the court and stuff, and so we still have a great relationship. But it got to the point where I still felt like I had a bit left in the tank to give it a bit more of a go rather than just trying to follow around him, and he was more than happy to say go for it, and we were always going to be mates, and it was so much fun, like I said, and even now it's still so much fun when we catch up and we still have a bit of fun together. But just the memories and like some of the experiences we had were insane.
What are some of the things you're doing off the court?
We had a few nights out here and there. We did. Yeah, he's one of the most, like I always say, he's one of the most normal blokes you'll ever meet. Like he just loves having a few nights out, enjoying himself. We go to the basketball. Yeah, exactly. We go to the basketball. We go to the concerts, and because of who he was, like it was just so accessible. Everything was so easy, and like last minute, I still remember in Montreal, and I was there with about 4 other blokes. We were just chilling in the room, and he's like, we found out Coldplay was playing in 30 minutes down the road. And before we knew it, we had tickets to the Coldplay concert. We just walked there. It was 2 minutes down the road.
Wow.
It was just like things like that. Obviously, there's a lot of, he loves his gaming, which I'm not a big gamer, so I used to just sit and watch and like FaceTime people and stuff. But whatever you can think of. Like I remember we were in the Bahamas, because that's where he's got a place, and we were just hanging out one day, and he loves being busy, and he's like, I'm a bit bored, let's go to Miami. So we just went to Miami for the weekend.
Oh wow. Damn, that should be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm hopefully going to Miami middle of this year for summer. I can't wait. Miami's amazing.
It's a great place to be.
Yeah, good beaches, good clubs. So after that period of time, you start to. At what point did you move from singles just to focus on doubles?
I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was like I was 25. I was going to stop. I'm done. I can't handle the traveling. It's a lonely sport. Like, and that's what I try and emphasize. Like, if you get your kids in tennis, they've got to get used to being away and losing. It's like getting fired every week because you don't. If you've had a great year, you've won. But if you had a great week, you've won one tournament a year, which is unbelievable achievement. But say you play 26, you lose 25 weeks a year, which is the feeling is a real low. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, that when when you get abused on social media for losing it, it's like getting fired, and then 1,000 people who have betted on you or put money on you and then abused you as well. And you're like, oh God, obviously you get used to it. But I just found, I was like, I can't do this. Like growing up, I always wanted to be in the Wallabies. I wanted to be a part of a team environment. I loved the team stuff. And I, for some reason, chose tennis, which
so different.
Is beyond me. Yeah, it's the complete opposite. So then when I was done, I went up to Leighton and I was just talking to him. A couple of people have offered me to be like a traveling hitting partner. And he was like, what? He said, well, why don't you try a bit of doubles and just play a bit of doubles? And also, while you're doing it, we can get you to help out a couple of the Aussie boys. So the first person he actually got me traveling with was Bernie Tomic for a couple of weeks. So I started off with him
Nice.
for a couple of weeks, and it kind of just went from there. Then the end of that year, Bernie and I don't know what happened. It was just a couple of weeks here and there. Like, he just asked if I could go here, and then Nick offered me a full-time thing. So I was like, well, I get to play with one of the best players in the world, and I get to travel with him as well. And I just saw a different side to tennis than what I'd seen before that.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's kind of, originally I thought I'd always come back and play singles, but then when I saw how much effort and how hard it actually was, I was like, oh, I'll probably just stick to doubles.
So you went pro at 19, is that right?
Yeah, 18, 19, yeah.
I mean, you would have seen what it was like for those 6-7 years. Was it slowly sort of chipping away, sort of just realizing what it was like on the tour, 40 or 50 weeks on the road, and then sort of just going, actually, I prefer the team environment, or step away?
Yeah, you gradually go up. Like I was for a stage that I was going up. Like, I qualified at Wimbledon. I was winning challenge. I won a challenger, and I was getting to the point where I'm like, all right, it's ready to take that big jump. But then things like the next year, I went from playing the main draw at Wimbledon, where for me there was a bit of hype around. I think there was only a couple, before that there wasn't many of us that qualified. So when I qualified, I was pretty pumped. And then the next year playing Wimbledon, I went and tore ligaments to my ankle. And I went from, like I said, the ultimate high to the ultimate low, where I had to, had to come home and spend 6-7 weeks watching everyone, or not everyone, watching or thinking what could have been, or something like, and I just found that a bit much. Like, I was like, I just don't want to. It's also, it's very competitive. I just found it quite tough, the whole singles day in, day out. It's also like the routine you do. It's not, you can't just have 6 or 7 weeks training and then all of a sudden you're there. It's a 52-week, sometimes 3 or 4 years in a row that'll get you there. And it's not easy. And you got to be consistently winning, because there's some matches you play unbelievable, but you still lose. And you may as well have lost 6-love, but you've lost 7-6 in the third and had match points, and the guys just play ridiculous. And you're like, well, what was the point of that?
And then you're more sore going into the next tournament or next match.
Yeah, well, then the next week, then the next day you got to travel to the other side of the world, and then deal with jet lag. 2 days getting used to the jet lag, used to the different surfaces, balls, and then you got to go again. And it gets pretty taxing and mentally really draining. Like I said, being Aussie, it was the shortest trip you have is about 3 or 4 months.
Where did you have your base during this time?
Well, during COVID, we didn't have one. All the Aussies, we were gone. We always talk about it, because the day after the Aussie, we had a week at home, and then we're like, all right, we're off. And we literally, I still laugh about it with one of the boys, Luke Saville, because when I left 2 days before him, and I got to the airport, and I was really emotional. I'm like, fuck, because you realize you're gone for the year, and there's no guarantees when you get back in without doing the 2 weeks quarantine. And there were, up until about end of October, we were gone. We had no idea when we were coming home, if we were even allowed. We were having calls with everyone saying flights like $27,000, and that's the off chance you can get one. And we're just like, so knowing this, I went into it and I was quite emotional, and he's laughing. He's like, shut up, you're fine. And then he called me 2 days later, just literally, he's like, I can't get on this flight. He was saying the same thing. So we're all just laughing about it. So when we actually found out we didn't have to do quarantine, it was like Christmas. It was the best day of the year for us.
Wow. Damn, that's insane. Throughout your career, where were you set up? Because I'm just trying to better understand what it's like the week-to-week traveling on the tour. Where would you set up, and how many different spots are you traveling to?
Oh, mate, honestly, no clue. Last year,
how would you describe it for the average listener who has no idea what it's like?
Well, last year during COVID was a bit of an exception, but I didn't spend a week in the same hotel / place until July.
Wow.
August, after the US Open. I remember because I went back to Miami because I actually met a friend there, and he's just like, if you have a week off, you can come stay with me. And he's actually a soccer player that lives there. And I was just like, oh yeah, I need a week off. Like I am just fried. Like I remember I went week to week. We went like started in, where did we start? France. No, went to Italy, drove to France, went back to Italy, then went Spain, Croatia, Italy, England, Portugal, like everywhere. It was just week.
Wow.
And then, yeah, but I was actually, because we were in a bubble, we literally went to the hotel, to the courts. It all seemed the same to me, except for when we got to the States where it started opening up and it was like, it's a free-for-all. They don't really care. So I actually did better when we were like in the bubbles, but then once we're allowed a bit of freedom, started to go downhill from there.
Yeah, damn.
How about back to your question? There was no I didn't really have a base. A couple guys have Alex Demonar. He's got a place in Alicante, which I spent maybe 2 weeks there.
Nice.
And other than that, we just go to Jordan Thompson's got a place in Florida, where we'd go, which is at Bradenton IMG. So a couple of us went there a couple times. But yeah, I met, because I was so, like I said, I was so over that whole bubble and stuff. I met this bloke in Miami. He just let me stay with him, and it was just an escape, just to get away from everyone. Because you literally were in each other's pockets every day of the week.
Damn. Is it ever difficult, spending so much time with others, or do you sort of get used to it?
Oh, you get used to it, but there's definitely people who you can spend more time than others with. And then there's guys I don't know if you guys have traveled, but there's guys that are just hard to travel with. You can be best friends with them, but when you spend more than 4 or 5 hours together, you get sick of them. Yeah. And they may have tendencies that, you can't get away from when you're traveling with them. And yeah. And some guys are a little more selfish than others, and so that they're a bit tougher. But yeah, there's some guys who I really get along with, and that's over the years you find out who you get along with better and who are easier to spend more time with.
There's certain times when you travel with family and you just I could put up with it at home, but now that we're overseas or something, it's it just really gets on your nerves. It is a funny thing, different environments with different people. It's too much.
Yeah. Well, for me, my biggest pet peeve on the road is being tight, being real tight about money, because a lot of us, we're literally you're like brother and sister, or brothers, so you go to a restaurant and sometimes we go in to eat. Whenever we go on dates and stuff outside of tennis, everyone laughs because we have we go in and eat so fast because we try and finish as quick as we can so we can get out of there as quick as we can. So it's really tough, in that thing. But so anyway, if sometimes I'll just say, look, I'll get this one, you get that one. But the ones that are real picky about, oh no, I got this, let's cut it up here, and just oh god, they're the ones that drive me insane. I'm like, look, I'll just get it and you just get tomorrow. And then but what happens if we go to this restaurant? And you're like, oh, far out, mate. Get over it. It's $5 here or there.
Yeah, there's too many details, the specifics. It's I'll get one, you get one, and we'll just go off that, roughly figure it out. It seems to work out most of the time.
Yeah, it should work out, and if not, you're out of pocket a couple $100
to a mate. That's not the end of the world. Do you have a favorite tournament to play at?
Yeah, I've got a couple actually. My favorite tournament, you can't go past Wimbledon. Wimbledon is insane. More because I've always played well there, and I love the grass, so I play better. But a tournament that I've actually never played great in that I absolutely love is the Aussie Open. It is, I don't know if you've ever been, but it's the most fun atmosphere, the best atmosphere ever. I always tell all my friends, you got to get down to Melbourne during that time. You don't have to like tennis to go to the Aussie Open. It's that fun. I finished this year and I'd lost on the Wednesday, and I spent another week there just chilling and walking around and actually trying to experience it. Was usually most years are, or especially the last few years, COVID's been there, so you can't do anything. But the last few, you finish and you get out of there like the next day, or you spend a day there. But this year I really tried to get around and enjoy it, and it's unbelievable. And then also I love the Mexican tournaments. They do an unbelievable job. They get like big crowds, great hotels, just it's just a lot of fun. It's like a fiesta environment.
Damn, that's awesome. That's so cool. And that Spanish will come in very well then.
Yeah, exactly.
So Wimbledon, because you mentioned that you, like when you were having that conversation with Leighton at around 25 and you're a little bit unsure about tennis, he put you onto Bernard. Did you ever, were you playing doubles with him back like Wimbledon juniors?
Yeah. So I've known Bernie since 12's nationals. I was 12, he was 10.
Wow.
So I've known them for years and years, and yeah, that whole experience playing with Bernie was at the time you knew he was going to be good, but you didn't know how good he was going to be. So we played junior doubles, and yeah, we made the final. We missed that match that everyone talks about, Roger Rafa, the 9-7 in the fifth. We missed it because we were actually playing at the same time. But
shit.
yeah, I served for the match, Wimbledon Juniors, and I lost. Well, we lost as a team, and Bernie, every time I see him, he always brings it up, like, "Oh, how'd you choke? Blah blah blah. Could have won Wimbledon." But now, yeah, it was fun. Like, it was, juniors were such good times, and at the time, you never know if you're ever going to come back and play in Wimbledon. So it was incredible. We got to go to the Wimbledon Ball. That was a bit of fun. Probably won't ever get to go there again, but.
What's the Wimbledon Ball?
Good.
Is that an event that they host before or after?
Just for the guys that make guys and girls that make the final.
Oh wow!
And
so that's exclusive as it gets.
Yeah, so I didn't even know about it until the night before when they said, "Oh, look, you got to get your date ready and blah blah blah." And I was like, "For what?" And they're like, "Oh, this Wimbledon Ball." And we had 2 Aussie girls there that were in the semi-finals as well. It was the night before the semi-finals. Oh, just so you know, if you're in the final, you got to bring someone. So we just had an agreement with the girls, like whoever wins took each other, and I actually think we both won, so we just ended up all being each other's dates. And then, but it was, so as soon as Rafa, he won it that year, and I remember it was like 1 a.m. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, we're so tired, like, let's go." And as it was about to finish, Rafa walks in, because he would have done all his media and stuff, and the room, I've never seen, the room just stood up and was just like, oh, like that, just clapped him. It was just unbelievable. Like, obviously, I think Serena won it that year as well, and she won in about 35 minutes or whatever, and smoked the girl. But Serena's just incredible. But
does.
That Rafa Roger, when he walked in, it was just this. Yeah, exactly. It was just like you couldn't. I've never seen like a room like that stand up when someone walked in. Because it's all like royalty that were in there, and like all the members, and the thing is, the guy that makes the final can't go. I don't know why they let the juniors doubles players go, but so Roger wasn't there. It was pretty cool.
Wow. I mean, what Rafa did just the other week at the Open against Medvedev too. Damn.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, these guys are freaks, and you hear like apparently like he's not. He was barely training. Like, when I say training, like he was struggling with his foot. He could barely train like before he left, or you hear all these rumors about how much pain he was actually in, and then not only did he win the Aussie, he won the lead-up tournament as well, which is like what Ash did. It's just incredible. It's almost unheard of what they're doing, because usually when players come back from those kind of surgeries, it takes them 3 or 4 months, especially on a hard court where it's so rough on your foot. And to win in 5 sets against Medvedev, who's probably, apart from Novak, probably the best player on tour right now, was insane. Like, and from 2 sets love down. I think I even said when he was 2 sets love down, I was like, "Oh, well,
it's
he
a
may as
long
well
night.
kiss this final goodbye. There's no chance it's coming from that." Yeah.
Yeah.
Still to make the final was incredible.
Absolutely. When Nadal won that 3rd set, I'm like, oh shit, it's going to be a long night. like he won that 3rd set 6-4, the 4th one 6-4. And I think he had I can't remember what the score on the 5th was, but I'm like, oh, Just the
Yeah,
mental strength to
I-
still feel in it. To still feel in it. I don't have many
yeah,
words.
exactly. Like for when you like being 2 sets love down at the best of times is just insane. Let alone in a final where your foot's buggered. Like you're playing against a guy who you're probably not the favorite against, and who's won the last Grand Slam. How he did it's incredible. But once he won that, he probably I don't know. Once he won that fourth set, the crowd and the adrenaline, it would have been one of the best tickets like ever to go watch that live. I reckon to watch the comeback happen gradually. Like I feel sorry for Medvedev because obviously the crowd against him was ruthless.
Yeah.
But to be in the stands and watching it go down, like it would have been something pretty special.
I think it was a historic moment in my opinion. Just that grind.
Yeah.
I like Medvedev's speeches. Like everyone seems to hate him, especially in Australia. But his post-match speeches, I feel like, are hilarious for someone who has pretty broken English. I sort of like the guy.
Yeah, he's actually like he's one of the most friendly guys. I don't know him that well. He seems like such a nice guy, and like I love his speech as well because he's quite honest, and
Yeah.
you can relate to him because he's kind of like most of the guys they say the stock standards answers after they win or lose, and it's because they like Roger and Rana have just taken it to another level where they're so loved that if you don't do that, everyone thinks you're a bit weird or like you're like you are a bit of a spoiled brat. Whereas now there's a few guys that are coming along and they're being a bit more of themselves and like bringing a bit of humor. Like even their celebrations and stuff. Like Medvedev, he refuses to celebrate when he wins. He just doesn't celebrate, and I think it's pretty funny. And then you got guys like Nick who, he'll go put on like an absolute show, like to the point where it's insane. And yeah, like it's obviously it's going to be so sad seeing these guys like retire, but seeing what's happening coming up, I think it's pretty cool. Like you've got guys that are just being a bit more of themselves and like what you're trained to be, which is a bit of a media robot.
Yeah. Medvedev is incredibly robotic in his style of play, though. It's like hitting with a brick wall, but just by watching.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he is a brick wall. Like he stands 10 meters behind the baseline. He's 6'6" and he moves like he's 5'5". And he's got a serve over 220, like with no weakness. How you almost can't beat it. And the way like his technique probably isn't picture perfect, but he makes it work. And Jesus, like he just doesn't miss. He literally puts every ball like a meter from the baseline, so you can't hurt him. And then he can just like smack the crap out of it whenever he wants, wherever he wants, from anywhere in the court.
Yeah, crazy. Just how gangly he is. It's like I actually like. Yeah, he was able to just make virtually every ball on the court just because of how gangly he is. Like this dude doesn't seem to have a weakness, and I guess that's why it was.
Yeah, his body still looks like he's like he's just an average person walking down the street. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like tennis players, everyone's got different body shapes. You got Rafa, who's just like an absolute bull. Like he's so jacked, and then you got other guys that are just like they look like regular Joes, but they've got engines and they can go all day. Like I'm actually I've been here with a guy named Dan Evans, and I don't know if you know him, but he's a British guy, and yeah, he's just like a small. He used to be a bit out of shape, but like he's one of those guys that can just go for 5 hours. Like
wow,
he may
just
not look like but his legs can just go all day. And I've like watching him train the last few days, I've just been amazed. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't realize how hard he trained.
What are the sort of trainings that you're doing outside of tennis to improve your tennis, if that makes sense? If it's like running or swimming, or I don't know, are there any other activities?
A lot of guys are starting to do a lot more cross training. Like when I was home, I was actually myself and Jordan Thompson. We played OzTag. And we're playing 4 or 5 times a week, like just we'd play, but that's on top of like doing some running sessions as well. And we just use it because OzTag it gets so competitive, but you're constantly running and it's all the same movements, like stopping and starting. It's a bit dangerous, we had a couple little scares with our hamstrings and stuff, but at least we're doing something we really enjoyed, because footy's like one of our passions. So we were just playing footy every day. It was, yeah. But like with Leighton, he was doing, when we were together, we did a lot of boxing, a lot of like run swims, all those kind of things.
And then how do you recover after a session or after a match?
We do a bit of ice baths and stuff. Like I've been doing a bit of ice baths here, which is a bit unusual. But yeah, not so much. Everyone's different. Other guys are probably a bit better to talk to about that than me. I've been quite lucky where I've never really had too many injuries. So those guys, like 5 sets of tennis and 5 hours of tennis. If like doubles is lucky where you cover half a court and it's a best of 3 sets. So, like sometimes you can be more mentally tired than physically, but for the singles boys, it's a bit different. They have to do the right stuff. They have to eat right, drink right during a tournament, ice baths, massages. So yeah. But me personally, yeah, I'll have a massage. I'll see the physios if I'm feeling a bit sore, get stretched out, like by someone else. But I've never been big on myself doing it.
Yeah, that's fair. Those those singles matches I can see how doubles is a lot less taxing on the body. Where do you see yourself in your career? How much longer do you want to be doing doubles for? And then what would you say is next?
This question's come up a fair bit the last few weeks, actually.
Why is that? Why more so recently, you reckon?
It's more myself, I think it's more myself asking myself, can I do it again? Can I go a whole another year, or how many years? Leading up after Wimbledon, I was like, I'm going to the next Olympics. That was I'm going to go. That was my goal, to try and go around till that date and see if I can maybe sneak into the Olympics, because I think that would be incredible. But then doing that whole year away from home, I think it's affected me worse than I thought it did, if you know what I mean. I've really battled when I was home, I really battled to get in my head that I've got to go away again and start traveling again. So, because it felt like I just got home, the end of mid-November, and then all of a sudden you're playing Aussie Open a month later, and then you got to say, I've got to go again. And for me, it was when I lost at the Aussie Open, going into the Aussie Open, that's your last tournament at home. And it's one of those depressing feelings. You should be so pumped to play your last tournament there. But then as soon as I lost that next morning, I felt sick. I was and I didn't know if it was because of the loss or was the fact that I've got to start thinking about leaving again, and it took a few days before I was like, do I really want to do it? So I'm literally, and I've told the people close to me, I'm just taking it literally week by week. And I honestly can't tell you when I'll stop, because I theoretically, because of my age, I could play for 3, 4, 5 more years, but mentally I go obviously through a lot of ups and downs. And I guess right now, coming from what I've gone through the last few weeks, is more just I'm probably a bit more negative on the fact of maybe I'll try and finish the year. That will be my goal for now. We'll try and get to Wimbledon, and then I'll see what happens from there, But I'd love to stay in tennis when I'm done, I feel like it's pretty much, you stick to your strengths, and I feel like I've been around the game for so long now. I've seen a lot of sides in tennis. I've seen the really highs where, the top 20 guys with Nick and all that, and seeing how they deal with it, and just little bits and pieces, seeing how some of the best train. So I guess I feel like I can help out a couple of the younger juniors or whatever. Maybe if some a pro wanted me to travel with them, I'd probably be open to doing that. But I just want a base, if that makes sense. I'd love I don't care where it is. Obviously Australia is ideal, but in reality, tennis is you almost can't live in Australia if you want to play tennis or travel as a tennis player. So maybe I'm starting to think of other ideas of maybe base myself out of Miami or London, or I'll see what options come my way and play it by ear.
How have you managed past relationships?
Well, they haven't worked, so haven't really managed too well. But now, my first girlfriend was she was a tennis player, but that was years ago. I dated a flight attendant, and then like since then,
Mile High
nothing
Club,
really.
let's go.
Yeah, it was good, but then she's traveling as well, so you can't unless you've got someone traveling with you 24/7. It's not possible to have a relationship, in my opinion. Like some guys and girls are unbelievable at doing the whole distance thing, and each their own. It never worked for me, so it's tough. Like the whole leaving home, and everyone. Like I always say, the greatest country in the world is Australia by a mile. Like, and to leave that all the time is quite tough.
That's very understandable. What advice would you have